Coach Saulsberry, the legendary Coach Saulsberry. Thanks for coming, sir.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. So first off, congratulations on all the success and your legendary career and the most recent award from American Football Coaches Association for Coach of the Year. Congratulations on that.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. So you was a defensive coordinator from '98 to 2004, right? At Whitehaven.
Yes.
Was this your first coaching job?
Yeah, well, Whitehaven, working at Whitehaven was my first job teaching and coaching.
Okay, so what inspires you to coach?
Well, the crazy thing, man, is I had no idea, growing up that there's something that I would do, obviously as you grow up. But as I think back to it, I think I had the strategy and things in mind even when I was a little kid. I used to play with my little G.I. Joe dolls and line them up, running plays and all that stuff. My mom used to laugh. It's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm playing football and strategizing. And being a football fan my whole life. That part of the game intrigued me, but I never thought about being a coach. I went into it, actually going into insurance and financial services. That's what I did coming out of high school. My major was mathematics. Okay. Had no desire to teach and coach, but somebody saw it in me. My old principal, Tracy Norval, every time he saw my parents out in the neighborhood, he would always say, when is Rodney coming back to teach? And I used to always wonder, why is this man always saying this? Why is he always saying this? And one day I got the bug and I taught in the Upward Bound program at Lamont on and just fell in love with teaching and helping kids. And I saw something in it. And then I just, if I was going to teach and I was going to coach, I just said Whitehaven is the only place. And I literally went to the board, and when I applied to be a teacher, I told them, if you don't call me to work at Whitehaven, don't call me.
Look it up.
And it went from there, man. So it's been a blessing since 1998, working at my alma mater, working at home for Whitehaven High School. And I bleed black and gold, so it's just been a blessing. So I don't know how I ended up there, but I guess it was in me, and that was God's vision for my life.
Yeah, so that's like a fairy tale.
Yeah, no doubt.
So how did the position as a defensive coordinator transition into you being promoted to a head coach?
Started off coaching defensive back. That's the position that I played. I played quarterback when I was younger, and then played defensive back in high school.
Okay.
So defense was the calling card. So when I came on board, working for Mr. Hunter, Mr. Hunter at the time, now Dr. Hunter, who was our principal, he was the head coach at the time. And I've known him my whole life. I came as a defensive back coach. Then I went on to become the defensive coordinator under him. When he moved into administration, Maurice Harris, one of my best friends, one of my classmates, became the head coach, and he was an offensive guy, and I was already defensive coordinator. So I moved in, I just kept that role with him. And when he moved on to college, then I was able to come on board and was the next in line to be the head coach. So that process was what it was, and again, we've just been a blessing. So we've been blessed ever since Stan Collins, our head coach, left, that every coach after that has been a Whitehaven graduate that's played for the program. So that's something we take pride in, and hopefully we keep holding that mantle up.
Yes, building from within.
Yes.
Okay, so for you personally, so for 20 years, correct, you've been a head coach.
Yes.
How did you build this program to becoming one of the most dominant programs that Memphis has seen, and how have you maintained?
It's been work, but the biggest thing has been about family. It's been about building the community, building that camaraderie, and building that hunger that you can build from within. That's that whole concept. We got once a tiger, always a tiger. We had that mentality that majority of my staff has always been Whitehaven graduates. And again, I don't say I a lot, because it's not about me. Definitely. It's about we. Yes, and that's what it was built upon. Now over 20 years, and again, it's been issues, because obviously, again, nobody wins when the family feuds,
of course,
as they say. So that's the thing, is keeping everybody focused on the prize. So that's been the challenge over such a long period of time, is get people to understand that it's not about you. It's about us.
Exactly.
And if we can keep that focus on us and keep the main thing, our goal is to use football as a vehicle of change, man. Football is a great game, as you've learned, man. Football is a great game. It can change your life. If you use this game of football the right way, you can see things you've never seen. All you gotta do is do some schoolwork and play some football, and you can get a scholarship. You can get an opportunity to go somewhere, and that may change. That may be the key to just getting a step out of the neighborhood.
Exactly.
Because I'm a firm believer that I ain't got no problem with staying in the hood, because that's where we grow. Because everybody can't leave. Somebody got to stay. But it's great to go and see better things, and then you come back and bring it back, and then we can make the community better. So that's really our challenge now, is how can we come back and save these people that's in the neighborhood?
Yes, sir.
How can we make our community better? Because everybody can't go, so how can we make it better living within the community? So that's been the challenge, but it's been a blessing, man. And every single day it's about these kids, because we see them, and we were once them, and we never let them forget that, man. We walked in those shoes, and I'm a firm believer. So over 20 years, it's been a tough thing, but it's been a blessing every single day. And they're just grateful to be able to pour into these young men, let them know that football is a life-changing sport. And in athletics in general, but football in particular. Again, I'm a little biased, but football, I say, is a great teacher for the game of life.
Yes, sir. Now, given the past 3 years, the playoff drought, right?
Yeah.
So with you, for yourself, setting the bar and the expectations so high, for me, with being younger, it's comparable to LeBron James. So with you setting the bar so high, how has it motivated you to hear? How does it motivate you to hear when, you hear all the naysayers talk, and what do you say potential recruits and potential players that's coming to Whitehaven?
Oh, man, the proof is in the pudding.
Exactly.
Again, the end game is to win the state championship. So if you're not winning the state championship, that's it anyway. So that's our end game. Now, again, it hurts. Again, I'm a winner. I'm a winner by choice, trade, everything. So winning is in my blood. So not having the success, it hurts. But at the same time, we know what goes into it.
Yes,
and anytime you're starting over and building and starting with changing staffs and things of that nature, it takes time to build that. Again, we don't make excuses. We don't hide from it. But again, it's ain't no fun when a rabbit got the gun.
Yes,
so
sir.
It takes time to build. And anytime. And unfortunately, with the pandemic that came, us not playing for a year in the city, it was tough. Because football is not a game you can learn in a vacuum. You got to play football. And that year, we took it for granted. We didn't think there was going to be that much of an effect on the city. But we could tell just across the board that it affected the city across the board because you missed the year. Yeah. So we've been building back since then. But the biggest thing is trying to find that continuity on your staff.
Yes, sir.
And through that pandemic, we transitioned coaching staff changes and things of that nature. So that's all we've been doing is building. And what's done in the dark will come to light.
Yes,
so the sun will shine again. And we got a glimpse of it this year. Our guys are getting better. We can see the improvement. And we got a lot of talent that's grooming right there in our neighborhood. Yes, so it's all about just keep growing from within. And again, the sun will be shining again in the Haven real soon.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask you about that COVID year. I appreciate you going into details.
No doubt.
Let's break down your staff. So who was the longest coach you have on your staff outside of yourself?
Outside of myself. Again, that's Terrell Burks, my D-line coach. He's the longest tenured, so he's been with me the whole time. Okay. But he's kind of on the retirement side now. He's a detective with the police department. He's a lieutenant. He's big time now. I say he's big time homicide detective. So again, he's transitioning, but he's still hanging on. But he's kind of transitioning out. So he's the longest tenured coach that's been on the staff with me. And beyond that, man, a lot of guys. Teddy Carruthers, who's one of my former players. He's actually one of my first defensive backs that I coached. Okay. He was on when I came on the staff. He came back and he coached with me, and so he's been there. And so it's such a unique thing, man, with our staff of having guys that you've coached that come back, or guys that I played with that coach with me. That's been the blessing. So majority of my staff are former players that I've coached. So longest tenure would be Coach Burks. Okay. Again, he's the old hat, and then it'll be Coach Carruthers after that. Yes, but I'm blessed, man. I got a great group of guys, man. Coach Trey Bullard, one of my former players. He actually was a senior my first year as the head coach. So he was my first group of seniors, and he's the head coach at Havenview, and he also works at Whitehaven with us, coaching our defensive backs. And I hang my hat with him, man. That's my ride or die right there. Yes, that's my ride or die guy, because he was one of my first senior class.
So he's already a head coach. Is it anyone else within the program, within the high school program, that you can see that's a leader of men who could potentially be a head coach?
Oh, no doubt, man. We got, again, that's the blessing. Because if we look around the city, we got quite a few guys that are coaching around the city that played at Whitehaven. But on the staff, Jordan Williams is a star. He's a star to make it in the coaching realm. My job now is just to keep him coaching. Because again, you go to college, you go to school, you get your degrees, you want to work in your field.
Exactly.
So I'm trying to get him to keep that coaching bug. But he's a star in the making under Coach Vic because he has that passion for it. John Thomas, another one of the former players, he has that potential as well. So those guys are on the staff. And then obviously, I said Trey, he's already head coach at Havenview, so he's shown that propensity to be able to be a leader of men. But we got them all across the board, man. De Niro Tillman at White Station Middle School as the head coach. He's one of our former players. Adam Collins, the head coach at John P. Freeman, is one of our former players. So it's like, so these guys are everywhere. Not to mention, obviously, with Gene, that's at Germantown.
Yes,
with Coach Derek Bobo, who was at Melrose. Now he's at North Panola High School. Again, we just breed guys that are successful in school. They've gone on and they've gotten their education, and they are leaders of men. So it's just a blessing to have played a role in those guys' lives, and that they're coaches now. It just makes me feel like we did something right.
Okay, I love it. I love it. Gene, I got closer with Gene because we sent one of our quarterbacks over there.
Oh, okay.
Jordan Shelton. Yeah, he came from the herd. Yeah. So, with your experience, what advice can you give to up and coming coaches on the high school level who are in the beginning stages of their careers?
First and foremost, always be learning. Always. Never think you've learned it all. And as a coach now, if I'm not trying to get better, we're going backwards. So you always got to keep motivating yourself to keep learning. So you need to be engaged. They got the American Football Coach Association. That's so you need to be engaged in that. We got Minority Coalition of high school of football coaches, not just high school football coaches. We got a Minority Coach Association of Tennessee. It's so many things you can be involved in to get around like-minded people and study this game. One of my guys, Alonzo Carter, he's the running back coach at the University of Arizona. He started the West Coast Zoom during COVID. And it's something that spread worldwide, man. It'll be 200, 300, 400 coaches on a call, and we're all talking football. So always seek to learn. But if you're in Memphis and you have not been to visit the University of Memphis, you're not trying to coach. If you're in Memphis and you ain't been down the road to Ole Miss, you're not trying to coach. If you're going to Lane College, it's so many schools around here that play quality football. University of Tennessee at Martin, they won the last 2 championships in the OVC. That's all within 3 hours. You can draw a circle around 3 hours, and you can get to so many different football programs, Vanderbilt, Middle Tennessee. So if you want to coach, you need to go see what coaching looks like. Our doors are always open. My hat goes off to guys that call, Coach, can I come over there and come to practice and watch what you do? Yeah, come on. We got an open door policy. If you want to coach, go seek advice, go seek knowledge from people that are doing the things around you. We need to do a better job of that in Memphis, in my estimation, as well. We need to have coaching clinics, things of that nature to help the younger coaches. Because if you're not helping the younger coaches get better, what are we doing? So we got to, because somebody got to coach the little league team. Somebody got to be out here in the neighborhood, because you can't wait till they get to high school to start teaching them football. All is not getting better. So we get better as high school coaches if we make the youth coaches and the middle school coaches better. So I would say, man, always seek to educate yourself. So that's be my advice, man. Get outside your comfort zone. Don't think you know it all, but study the game of football, and you'll be surprised how much stuff you can learn.
Yes, I love it. Especially that, I'm a Pee Wee guy, so especially with that, supporting Pee Wee coaches.
So we have a clinic now. You better call. You better be the first one to sign up.
I might start it.
Yes, sir.
So to the smaller coaches, 1A, Hamilton, Westwood, BTW, Whitehaven, etc., what would be their best approach to develop talent, and also with getting the kids that do have what it takes, the exposure, and to receive offers?
Well, one, you got to grind and teach them the game of football. Everything starts with teaching. So you can't just go out there and roll the ball out and just say, hey. So the one thing is I will focus on learning the fundamentals. So get those guys to focus on the fundamentals and get the guys you have. Because again, in high school, you really get the guys that come to you. Now, obviously, there's people out here going out and they're trying to recruit kids and all those kind of things. And that's what you just got to understand, that that's a part of the game now. That's a part of the game now. So, but you want to really build from within your neighborhood, because the kids gonna play more when they come from when they playing for where they're from. But obviously, you got kids that come from different areas, and we're one that because again, we have a very successful school academically. So if you got very high academics at your school, you're going to attract kids from other areas that want to come and play for you as well. So one, get the kids you have and teach them the game of football. All levels are different. Now on the recruiting side, if they know the game, now your job is to get them exposure. You can't just be in you can't just practice every day and think somebody's going to come see them. It doesn't work that way. Coaches are going to come to the schools and the programs that are successful, and they may or may not stop by your school. So your job is connect with coaches like myself, coaches like Gene, the coaches that have been producing players, and be like, hey, I got a kid such and such, because I'm not trying to get your kid off your team. Exactly. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to help get exposure for your kids, no matter where they are. So I used to send out stuff. I got a little frustrated with it. I used to send out like, hey, man, who are your top players? I want to make a list of all the top players in Memphis. Because the coaches are coming by Whitehaven. I'm going to give them the list. And then they're going to come by, and then they can come by your school. And coaches would sometimes hesitate to send the kids. I'm like, man, I'm trying to help you get exposure for your program, exposure for your guys. Because they're going to ask me where to go. But unfortunately, there's no way I can see all these kids. I can't see all these players. So I don't know. So if I don't know where they are, I can't direct them to you. But if I know, then I'm going to hear you. Because Coach Kirkendall's doing a great job over at Sheffield. He's producing guy. They're doing a good job. So when I come in, I say, hey, man, you need to stop by Sheffield. They got a kid over there. All right, Coach Mosby, go, hey, he's doing a good job. Okay, if I hear about it, I can send somebody over there. Obviously at Mitchell, so different places. So our job is to help get exposure for everybody. And I tell them, man, if you got one guy that's going to bring the stars in, everybody gets to eat.
Exactly.
So that's our job as coaches, is to make sure the guys just get that exposure that we need. We want guys to get as many offers. I got a young kid, Corey House, that has 10 FBS offers, all those things already. So it's like, hey, you want Corey to get many offers. I tell his teammates, don't be jealous of him, celebrate him. Because the more attention he gets, the more attention you all get. So as a city, that's something we need to magnify in our city, is that we glorify our guys. We glorify our guys, and the more exposure they get. Because with social media now, and man, you're your best advocate. Yeah. Now you need to be trying to build your profile. You need to be trying to get out there. So I share a lot of information. Now again, kids got to listen, and coaches have to listen. I make a prospect list that has all my guys' information on it. It's linked with their huddle highlights. It's got all the Twitter stuff. All the information that they need is in one place. Coaches got a lot of work to do. Yeah. If you make the information easy for them to get, they're going to make sure that they get it. And they're going to look at, hey, man, this is efficient. I can look at it real quick. I can hit one or two guys. And then you got to be honest, too. Now, you got a 5'7", 150-pound corner. He might be a baller, but he's 5'7", 150 pounds. He can't go to Alabama. Yeah. So you can't be calling Alabama, say, I got to do, you got to talk to the schools in that level. Now, if it's a guy that's special, okay, then I'm going to call everybody and then we're going to see. So as a coach, you also got to be realistic with your players and let them know that, hey, this is what these guys look like. Take these kids around here to these camps so they can see, like, hey, it's some large human beings walking around this earth. And like, if I really want to play football, I need to see that what they are. So exposure is a big piece that we need for our guys. And make sure you're taking these guys around. Like, there is no way that you coach football in Memphis and your kids have not been to Memphis. They got to have been on that campus. They've got to have seen those coaches. And then it goes from there. Again, we can't expect them to recruit our guys if we don't take them out there to see them and build a relationship. There's no way that Coach Silverfield should know your name if you're a head coach of Memphis. You need to make sure that you've gone to meet them. And then you take that same concept and then you branch it out. Again, I say within the 3-hour radius, because that's a day trip. It's a day trip. You can go 3 hours, go spend some time, and then come back home. Because everybody may not have the means where they can go out and travel for a large net. But within 3 hours, I think if we pull out a map right now and do a 3-hour radius in a circle, it's at least 10 schools. It's probably way more than that, but I'm trying to just trim it down some. But then that 3-hour radius, it might be 20 to 25 schools that you can get to. So just take the time to go start visiting. Mississippi State, all those schools within 3 hours. All right, Alabama is actually within 3 hours of here. So don't stick yourself in a closet and think somebody's gonna come find you. It doesn't work that way. Yes, go out there and get the exposure and put your kids out there.
Thank you, sir. All right, so let's talk about running backs in Whitehaven. It's like a match made in heaven. Every single year, it's like y'all get a great or an exceptional running back. How do you guys continue to produce running backs?
Hey, God is good. God is good. Now it takes, again, it's coaching that goes into there, but again, a lot of it is just God's gift, man. We got some guys, like even before I played, man, we got Michael Jackson and Fred Norfleet, those old head guys in the early 80s. And man, there's so many guys that have been that guy. Again, I've been blessed. I played with Curtis Alexander, and Fred Johnson, and Curtis Alexander that played at Alabama. So that was my teammate. So it's just continued over the whole history of our program. Some guys you know, some guys you don't know. When I walked into coaching, Eugene, we called them the Four Horsemen. Eugene Cozart, the Four Horsemen was different. That was Brody Clayton, Dominique Thompson, Corby Stokes, and Alandis Rogers. We had 4 tailbacks, all of them were good. And they were rolling. Then there's so many of them that I get them mixed up. Yeah, Eugene Cozart and Marcus Cole that were together. We called them Thunder and Lightning. So it's just been a blessing. And then obviously, man, you can't have a running back conversation not talking about Mark Dossie.
Exactly.
So his number would always be hung up on the wall there. And we got his nephew on the team now, Caden Buford. There's a 9th grade this year. So again, it's just in the blood.
Yes,
so Kylan Watkins also helped us to the state championship, played at the University of Memphis. And Christopher Talley, he did his thing. Got 1,000 yards as a sophomore, had 1,600 yards this year. And told him we got 2 G's to get next year, man. We got to go get it. So just a blessing. And again, he's a national hurdle winner. So he's got so much talent. He ran 14 flat in the 110 hurdles. So that's another thing that we also got to do for our kids. We need to get them doing other stuff too.
Exactly.
If they can run, they need to be running track. If they can play basketball, play basketball. If they can play baseball, play baseball. Multi-sport athletes become more well-rounded, and it just helps them with the exposure and actually gets their athletic ability just to increase even more.
Yes, sir. So how was it like coaching Mark? Mark Dossie.
Hey, it made your life easy now. It is. So again, the blessing is when you have talented guys. But Mark was blessed to be in a special group of kids. I believe on that team we had 8 Division I players on that team that won a state championship. So he was surrounded by some guys that could play. But he was special. Again, to play in the state championship and score every touchdown. We won.
It was special.
Yeah, so that was special. He is a special kid, but the thing that so people don't know about Mark is he would be the first one to practice, and he'd be the last one to leave. He's there holding his kid. He's sitting there watching guys, making sure you're on time, all those kind of things. So he held his teammates accountable, and that's why they can trust him. They're like, hey,
exactly.
if the best player is also the hardest worker and gonna hold accountable, what other excuse do we have? We got to make sure we're holding us accountable. And again, he was blessed with a great group. And a lot of those guys are coaching right now. The crazy part is Justin Hunt is coaching with Derek Bobo. Gerald Perry's in Nashville coaching. Darius Sim works in Middle Tennessee. So all these guys, I need to get Pat Smith into coaching, man. Pat is Pat
Which
is in
one
Nashville.
of them was the went to Vanderbilt?
Darius Sims and Gerald Perry both went to Vandy. They went everywhere. That whole crew, man. Justin went to Marshall. We had those guys that went to Tennessee State. It was
8 Division I.
8 Division I guys on one team, man. It's special. Yeah, it's a special group. You're gonna have somebody arguing now. They're gonna say, hey, they're not the best class, because I got a couple other guys. They have some good arguments about who had the best class collectively.
Okay. So you attended the Tampa Bay Bucks Coaching Academy.
Yes.
You were one of 25 finalists that were accepted out of 1,600 applicants. That's amazing. That alone speaks to your coaching legacy. How did it feel getting accepted? And even you, with your background and your coaching legacy, what did you take from it, and how did you instill it into your program?
Man, at first you didn't know the gravity of it at the time. It's like, hey, I saw the opportunity and I just applied for it. You're like, hey, I've been doing this a long time, but you really don't understand it, man. That's a whole another level of things. Yep. So the gratefulness of being selected was exciting, because it's like, hey, you're being recognized for what you're doing, but you're being recognized for the promise that you still have. Yeah, and I'm older, but I ain't old. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you look for that promise of what does it feel like to be in the NFL at that level. So I was very grateful for the opportunity, but man, just be a sponge. You know, I went into that thing eyes wide open, man. What does it look like to coach at this level? What does it look like to be around the best of the best? They say it's the 1% of the 1%. It's like, so it's a very elite talent. And then you realize that it's football. It's football, but they just doing it at such a high level because that's your job. And you realize the true profession of being a football player because the information that you have to digest, you can't imagine how much football you have to learn in a short period of time. We were blessed to go to veteran mini camp, and then we were there for the whole rookie mini camp. So these rookies are coming in. We saw the whole situation where you coming in fresh out and they throwing this playbook in front of you, and it's like, I got to learn all of this. Day one, I got to come in where I got all of this, and that ain't it. It's like, now it's another day coming with a whole nother. So just the magnitude of all the information that you have to digest and know. And in the NFL, it's like things are changing immediately. So you got to know that if this happens and this happens, and you got to be able to adjust on the fly, because that's really the separator. Can you retain information, and can you produce physically? So you got to have the physical traits, and you got to have the mental capacity. So that helped me as far as teaching my guys. It's like, hey, I'm blessed to meet John Mitchell, who was one of the first African American players at the University of Alabama. I think he was the first African American player at the University of Alabama. So groundbreaking in itself.
It's beautiful.
And he's been a coach he's been around football since he was 18, and he just retired 2 years ago. So you know that all the information that he knows. And we asked the questions like, how do you teach a middle school kid as opposed to a professional kid? He said, you teach them the same. You can't hold anything back from him. So that upped our game as high school coaches that, we got to challenge our kids more. Definitely. We got to give them more information. We can't be like, hey, dumb it down for them. You got to keep it simple, but at the same time, you have to challenge them to learn the game as much as possible. Because if they don't learn the game, when they go to college, there's no way they're going to be able to succeed.
It's going to be too much.
They're going to be behind. They're not going to be able to play. So now it's 2 years of development that they trying to learn what to do when they could be ahead of the game and already know the ins and outs. So we had to challenge ourselves as a staff is that we need to teach them more of what it takes to be in college. And then in turn, that's going to teach them more to get ready to prepare them for the NFL. So that's what I took from it. And again, my hat goes off to guys like Coach Anthony Jones, Dominique Bowman, Carlos Lachlan, all those guys that were at Cordova at that time. They were challenging those guys and teaching those guys at that level. You know, they may or may not have had all the success on the field all the time, even though they did have success in Cordova with their staff. They didn't win the state championship, but they were having high success with those guys because they were teaching those guys, because all of them aspired to be college coaches. So they challenged themselves to teach that way. And then now you see all those guys are in college coaching now, be it Ohio State, USC, at Temple, and Dominique has been at Arkansas. He's been at other places. So that let us know that if you want to be a coach, you have to challenge those kids at that level. And they can learn.
Definitely.
Yeah, these kids can learn.
Of course.
We just have to not understand it.
It's on us
and just got to put it out there for them. So
Yeah.
I'll say that opportunity was so great because you see that these guys are coaches just like us.
Exactly.
But they're just coaching at a extremely high level, and that's their job. And when something is your profession, you treat it differently.
That's how you feed your family.
And it's business, because a lot of times we kind of treat this thing like a hobby, so it's going to pay you like a hobby. You treat it like a hobby, your results going to be like a hobby. But if you treat it like a business and you treat it like it's supposed to, man, there's so many things that you can gain from this game.
Yes, so if given an opportunity, would you coach at the University of Memphis?
Oh, most definitely. I'm a homeboy, man. I love Memphis, man. I'm a Memphis guy through and through. If that opportunity presented itself, man, I would love to be able to represent the home team. Because I got a firm belief that, man, we can stack the home team with our hometown guys. We can go win. I'm like, old Dana Kirk mentality with the Memphis Tiger basketball team. And Larry Finch was like, hey man, we got to get all the boys from the house. And if we can do that, so again, if that opportunity was presented itself again, Lord willing. But again, right now I'm repping the Haven, man, and I'm at home, and nothing beats being at home, man. And it feels great to be at home. But University of Memphis is home too. Again, I got my master's degree from there, and again, I'm a firm believer that Memphis is a special place, and we can do the right things, and man, Memphis can win. Again, and my hat goes off to the guys that have been at Memphis these past few years, and they've changed the program because I think Memphis is a highly successful program, and I think it's more that we can get even more.
Yes, out of this next course, we're going back to the state championship. So out of all the state championships you've achieved, which state title meant the most, where you faced the most adversity, and was the toughest to win?
Oh, well, I mean, you got to kind of look at both of them, man. It's the first one is always going to be the one that's the most special because I mean, it was the first one.
Yes, sir.
So going to those back-to-back years, coming up short that first year going, and then coming back and winning that next year. So that first one is always going to be remarkable, man.
Yes,
it's still kind of surreal the way it happened in overtime, winning at the last place. It was so, man, the emotions of all those people pouring over the side of the stadium and flooding the field. I mean, when you see it on tape, it's still kind of surreal to see how that happened. And just represent the community. And I told the guys, man, that you won that state championship for everybody that's ever played for the program. So that first one was special. So that going back again, the adversity that comes with that, because it's hard. It meant to do it once is hard. To do it again is even harder. So that second one was special because, people didn't see it. They didn't see it. And those guys, so you went from a game that was high scoring, that first one, and we were just in a battle, to that one was a knuckle dragger. We were battling all the way to the fourth quarter and came out. So both of them were special, but nothing beats that first one.
Yes, I love it. So it might be the same two teams. Give me the best two teams that you ever coached that were all around dominant. It was well rounded.
Now I'm gonna say one of the teams that didn't win but was special to me was my first senior class group. Okay. So those kids, my first year as a head coach, that were freshmen, but time that they were seniors, because that was that growth process. Because that's really where everything was built. That was the foundation. So that group of guys that were there as freshmen and came on up, that's one group that's gonna always stick out to me, because those are my guys. They had to buy into the vision, and it was tough. Because the first year we were 5-5, second year we were 5-5, third we were 6-4, and then I believe that's next year we went 10-2. I believe went 10-2 that next year. So it was like you saw the jump, and we knew from that point forward all things were done. So that group with Tenarius Wright, who's now the head strength coach at Illinois. Marcus Rucker, who had a storied career at the University of Memphis and also played in the NFL. Marcus Hightower, that boy was special in his own right. Garrick Jones, who's the offensive coordinator at Germantown currently. So it's just a special group of guys. Rico King, Lord rest his soul, that he's passed away, but he was a special guy on that team. Hollis Moore. So there's so many guys on that group that I just that group was special because they started it off. You could see that vision that they had. And Gene was a young guy on that team, so he came in after them. So he was a part of that as it grew along. But again, that group with Mark them was special because it's just so much talent that was on that team. Now that other state championship team, the thing that was so special about them, our line was tremendous. The offensive line, the defensive line, man, you talking about a special group of guys. It was like we kind of knew we were going to win because we just looked at those guys up front. And we just had interchangeable guys. Like, hey, we need you on offense, you go over here, block, jump over here and play. I need you on defense. So that offensive defensive line was a special group of guys. And that's why Kylan just had, Kylan was able to float a lot of times because he had people that was creating lanes for him. But again, it just keeps going back, man. We got a good group of guys, and every year has been special. But those 3 years kind of stand out tremendously for me. Yes,
now let's go back to Coach Jane. How does it feel when you facing off with Coach Jane, and the success that you see, how does it feel?
Oh, it's always good. You know, and again, I'm a competitor now. I'm a competitor. So I got him early. Now he getting me now. So we in a battle at all times. So it's always that, because as a competitor, that's what you want. You want to compete to get the best. I'm so proud of him. You know, so proud of what the job that he's doing, because I know the foundation is being built the right way. I know he's doing things the right way. Irregardless of all these folks that may talk and do all those things, we know what the foundation of this thing is and why we do what we do. And as long as we're doing that, we're always going to be on the same page. So again, so I'm a competitor, so I'm looking excited for them getting an opportunity, because people wrote them off this year again, and they hung in there and everything is, because again, I say, man, our league is so tight. I mean, it's so tight, so it's finite, you know. So I'm like, hey, man, we're 4 yards away. 4 yards away. So our season come down to 4 yards. So we was on the 4-yard line, had a chance to win that game. It made a difference in the season. So that lets us learn and teach. Because I tell people all the time, I never lose, I learn. So as a team, I tell our boys, we never lose, we learn.
I love that.
So every time, even if you lose a game, it's a learning experience for you to understand, what did it take, or where did we fall short, and how do we shore that up? So again, obstacles are just stepping stones. You know, so when trouble goes away, God got a plan in everything he does. And so for all those people that got time to, to talk, we don't pay attention to any of those things. We just keep working.
Yes,
and our job is to help these young men use this game of football to further their education. And let's go out here and get this money, go to school. And then we win games along the way.
Yes, sir.
We're going to win games along the way. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so Mike T is my guy, my Coach Tomlin. And winning is a byproduct of doing things right. Yes, if you're doing things the right way, winning's going to come. But winning is the business. So our job is to be about that business. So we ain't satisfied. We're going to keep working.
I love that. So give me what's your overall perspective on football in the city of Memphis right now? We're seeing so many of our teams in the playoffs, and it's looking like they got a good chance, especially with us having a privilege being known as a city that don't finish in the postseason.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I know what the playoff structure hasn't always been in our favor, because again, it's as I talk to guys in the state and everything else, it's Memphis is kind of like, hey, they over there, all right, but so the playoff structure had always been stacked in our favor. But my hat goes off to guys for going out and doing the work. I talked to Coach Miller again. I talked to Coach Miller earlier today. It's like, hey man, good luck. Go take care of business. Our job is to go get those gold balls and bring them back. I don't care who goes to get it. Let's go get it, because you represent the city. So it's work. We got to understand that it takes work. So football is getting better in the city, but I think it can even get better. So one, we got to invest the time and we got to invest the money, because the difference is the resources. Exactly. And you can see haves and have-nots. We got to make sure that in the city, we make sure we got some haves, and it's not all, So again, money is what it is, you know what I'm saying? So those that have more get more, but we can find a way where we can get it better in the city. But hat goes off to the guys that get it out the mud. That's what we say, they get it out the mud, they make and do with whatever you have. So our challenge is to keep getting out here and teaching these boys. So again, coaches have been doing a much better job, because I'm encouraging them. Man, you got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to go to these clinics. You got to go travel to these conferences. You got to go learn more about the game of football. Don't just stay in the silo and stay around here and thinking you know it all. Don't do that. Get out here and learn more, and then you can challenge yourself more. And this now has been evident, because I see more guys going to travel to the national convention. I see more guys asking, hey, I want to go here, go there. They're seeking help, seeking knowledge, and you can tell on the football field. Now they just got to go produce and get it done. So again, I'm a congratulator. I don't spend time hating. I want people to succeed. Now, obviously, do you want to win? Yes. Obviously. But if I'm not in the game, I want my boy to win. And if we can all take that mantra, the whole city will get better. Yes, it's like, man, if I ain't getting, I'm trying to help you get it. Because that's a mentality for uplifting our community. Because ain't nobody coming to save us. They'd rather us die off. They don't want us winning in the city. So we got to find a way to win. So we got to help each other win. So let's build that. So hopefully, people can see this and understand that, man, we all got to be working together, pushing together, and then we can get more things done in the city.
Yes, sir. I love it. So the next question is a more personable question. Back in 2014, the East versus West All-Star game. I'm not sure if you remember. I think Ramada was a running back on the team.
Oh, yeah,
so there's me there, and it's Denzel Murphy from Mitchell.
Yeah.
So do you remember, why did you select me and Denzel to go along, if you can recall?
Well, and I don't remember exactly, but what it is that we're going to take care of home.
Yes, sir.
And I'm a firm believer in that. As you can hear it in what I say, we're going to take care of home. And Cole, my dude now, you know what I'm saying? So Coach Cole is my guy, and we always got to be looking out for each other. You know, again, my guys, you know, Mr. Meeks is my cousin. You know, Mr. Meeks, the principal, that's family. You know, so that opportunity came. Obviously, he went to principal then. You know, I think
Meeks was there then. Meeks was there.
Man,
he been there forever.
I'm gonna say, cuz he old. I'm gonna say, cuz you old, man. You been there that long. And I thought it was still work. So Meeks been there that long.
Yeah, he was there.
Man, good hats off to cuz. They're doing a good job over there at Mitchell. But that was the big thing, is that we need to make sure we got the city represented.
Yes, sir.
Because a lot of times in those games, you don't get a lot of kids from Memphis, because at that point, that game was in Cookfield.
Yep.
Yeah, the game was all, you know, so all on the other side. So how do we make sure we get guys represented on both sides of this? And I was getting a chance to be the coach. I'm going to bring my boys with me. You know what I'm saying? So that was part of it. So it's like, hey, man, who your best guys, all that stuff. So we made sure we had Memphis represented on the team. So, again, I appreciate you, man. You took me back right there, man. We had a good time, man. That was a great week. So things like that. Things like that, those are the things that our kids need to see, because that's changing for you all. You know what I'm saying? I get to come and I get to see all this. I go to college and play this game. The exposure that you get from that, and just the experience. Now you can really get something to tell other people, something to aspire to. And that makes us a little bit hungrier.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right, no doubt.
Appreciate you, Coach Saulsberry.
Appreciate you, man.